Have you ever finished a 15-minute walk, looked down at your stomach, and wondered why nothing seems to be changing? You've been told for years that walking burns fat. You've heard that it's one of the safest and most effective exercises for losing weight. So you lace up your shoes, head outside, stay consistent for days or even weeks. And yet that stubborn belly fat refuses to disappear. Eventually, frustration sets in. You begin to question whether walking really works at all. The truth is, walking absolutely works, but not in the way most people imagine. One of the biggest misunderstandings about fat loss is believing that your body immediately starts burning belly fat the moment your feet begin moving. In reality, your body follows a carefully organized sequence that has been shaped by millions of years of human evolution. Before it ever reaches for stored fat, it has several other jobs to complete first. Your muscles need immediate energy. Your brain has to coordinate movement. Your heart must gradually increase blood flow. Your lungs need to deliver more oxygen. Hormones have to shift into an entirely different metabolic state. Only after all of these systems begin working together does your body slowly prepare to use stored fat as a significant fuel source. Ironically, many people stop walking right before this transition starts becoming meaningful. They think those first 15 minutes were supposed to melt belly fat, when in fact those minutes were simply preparing the machinery that makes fat burning possible. In this video, we're going to follow your body minute by minute and discover exactly what happens from the instant you take your first step. You'll learn why your belly fat doesn't burn immediately, which organs are working behind the scenes, when fat burning truly begins to accelerate, and how a few simple adjustments can make every walk far more effective. Once you understand what your body is actually doing, you'll never look at a walk the same way again. Most people believe that the moment they begin walking, their body immediately starts burning belly fat. It sounds reasonable. After all, walking is movement. Movement requires energy. And if the body needs energy, surely it should start pulling that energy from fat. This idea is simple, attractive, and easy to repeat. The problem is that it is not how the human body actually works. Your body does not choose fuel randomly. It chooses fuel based on speed, availability, intensity, hormones, and survival priorities. Belly fat is stored energy, but it is not the fastest energy source. It is more like money locked inside a long-term savings account. It can be used, but the body does not open that account first. Before that happens, it uses the energy that is already nearby and easier to access. At the beginning of a walk, your muscles first use ATP, the immediate energy molecule already stored inside muscle cells. This energy is available instantly, but it runs out quickly. Then the body uses phosphocreatine, another rapid energy backup system. After that, your muscles rely more heavily on glucose circulating in the blood and glycogen stored inside the muscles and liver. These fuels are easier and faster to access than fat, especially in the first few minutes of movement. This is why calorie burning and fat burning are not exactly the same thing. You can be burning calories without burning much belly fat yet. Calories simply mean energy. That energy can come from glucose, glycogen, fat, or even, in extreme situations, protein. So when a fitness tracker says you burned calories during a short walk, that does not automatically mean those calories came directly from belly fat. The body is designed this way for a reason. Imagine our ancestors needing to move quickly to find food, escape danger, or travel across difficult terrain. In those moments, the body could not afford to wait for slow fuel systems to activate. It needed immediate energy first, so the body evolved to use fast fuel early, then gradually shift toward more oxygen-based, fat-supported metabolism once movement continues. This is where many people misunderstand walking. They think the first 15 minutes are ineffective because belly fat is not being burned at a high rate yet. But those first minutes are not useless at all. They are the warm-up phase for your metabolism. Blood flow increases, muscle temperature rises, oxygen delivery improves, insulin begins to shift. Fat-releasing hormones slowly become more active. The body is not ignoring fat. It is preparing the internal conditions required to use fat efficiently. So the myth is not that walking burns fat. Walking can absolutely help burn fat. The myth is that fat burning begins instantly and heavily from the first step. In reality, the first 15 minutes are more like turning on the lights, opening the doors, and starting the engine. The real metabolic transition takes time. And once you understand that, the question becomes much more interesting. What exactly is happening inside your body during those first 15 minutes? The moment you take your first step, thousands of tiny processes begin unfolding inside your body, even though you cannot feel most of them. What feels like a simple walk is actually a carefully coordinated biological event involving your brain, muscles, heart, lungs, hormones, blood vessels, liver, and billions of mitochondria. Every system has a specific role, and every system follows a precise sequence. This sequence explains why your belly fat does not immediately become your primary fuel source. During the first 1 or 2 minutes, your brain is the command center. Before your muscles can even contract, the motor cortex sends electrical signals down your spinal cord to activate hundreds of muscle fibers. Your nervous system begins coordinating balance, posture, and rhythm, while constantly adjusting every step you take. This happens automatically, but it requires energy. At the same time, your muscles reach for the fastest fuel available, ATP, already stored inside the muscle cells. ATP is often called the body's energy currency because every muscle contraction depends on it. The problem is that stored ATP only lasts for a few seconds. It was never designed to power a long walk. It exists to provide immediate energy, while other systems gradually come online. As ATP stores begin to decline, your muscles quickly switch to another emergency reserve called phosphocreatine. This backup system rapidly regenerates ATP, allowing your muscles to keep moving without interruption. Meanwhile, your heart notices the increasing demand. It begins beating slightly faster, pumping more blood toward the working muscles. Your breathing also becomes a little deeper, allowing more oxygen to enter your lungs. However, during these first couple of minutes, oxygen delivery has not yet fully caught up with your muscles' needs. Your body is still relying heavily on quick access energy rather than fat. Between 2 and 5 minutes, your circulation begins changing noticeably. Blood vessels supplying inactive tissues start narrowing slightly, while those feeding your leg muscles widen. This redistribution sends more oxygen and nutrients exactly where they are needed. Your heart rate continues climbing, not because your body is struggling, but because it is matching blood flow to the growing workload. Muscle temperature also begins increasing. Warmer muscles contract more efficiently, enzymes work faster, and nerve signals travel more smoothly. Inside your muscles, another important shift begins. Muscle cells start pulling glucose out of the bloodstream more efficiently. Tiny transport proteins called GLUT4 gradually move toward the cell surface, allowing glucose to enter muscle cells with less dependence on insulin. This is one reason regular walking helps improve blood sugar control over time. But even now, carbohydrates remain the dominant fuel. Your body is still using blood glucose and stored glycogen because they can be converted into energy much faster than stored fat. Around the same time, insulin levels begin falling slightly. This may seem like a small change, but it is incredibly important. Insulin is often described as a storage hormone. When insulin is high, your body prefers storing energy rather than releasing fat. As insulin gradually decreases during continuous walking, the brake on fat release slowly begins to loosen. At the same time, hormones such as adrenaline and glucagon begin increasing. These hormones send an important message to fat cells. Prepare to release stored energy if it is needed. Notice the wording carefully. They are preparing fat release, not maximizing it yet. By the time you reach 5 to 10 minutes, your cardiovascular system has become much more efficient. Oxygen delivery continues improving with every heartbeat. Your lungs have settled into a comfortable breathing rhythm. The oxygen reaching your muscles allows the mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside every muscle cell, to increase aerobic energy production. Instead of relying almost entirely on rapid carbohydrate metabolism, the mitochondria begin expanding their fuel options. This is also when enzymes involved in fat metabolism start becoming more active. Hormone-sensitive lipase, one of the key enzymes responsible for breaking down stored triglycerides inside fat cells, begins responding more strongly to the changing hormonal environment. Fat cells slowly split triglycerides into free fatty acids and glycerol. These fatty acids are released into the bloodstream, where they can eventually be transported to working muscles. However, this process is not instantaneous. Breaking down fat, transporting it through the blood, carrying it into muscle cells, and finally burning it inside mitochondria all require time. That is one of the main reasons belly fat does not disappear during the first few minutes of walking. Between 10 and 15 minutes, the metabolic picture begins changing more noticeably. Your insulin level has dropped further, while adrenaline and glucagon continue rising within normal physiological ranges. Blood flow is now well established. Oxygen delivery has become highly efficient. Muscle cells have increased their capacity to use both glucose and fatty acids simultaneously. More free fatty acids are circulating in your bloodstream than there were just a few minutes earlier. Inside the mitochondria, fat oxidation starts contributing a larger percentage of your total energy production. It is important to understand that your body is not flipping a switch from 100% carbohydrates to 100% fat. Instead, it is gradually changing the mixture of fuels being used. Think of it like slowly turning a dimmer switch rather than flipping a light switch. Every minute of continued walking shifts the balance a little further toward fat metabolism. This gradual transition is exactly why so many people unknowingly stop at the wrong moment. They complete a 10 or 15-minute walk, assume they have already reached the peak of fat burning, and head home just as their metabolism is becoming increasingly prepared to use stored fat more efficiently. The first 15 minutes are not a failure. They are the biological preparation phase that makes the next phase of walking metabolically powerful. And once your body crosses that preparation stage, something even more interesting begins to happen. The longer you continue walking at a steady pace, the more your entire metabolism starts shifting towards sustained fat oxidation. Setting the stage for the timeline we'll explore next. Now that you understand why the first 15 minutes are mostly about preparation, let's follow your body through the complete metabolic timeline of a typical walk. Instead of thinking of walking as one continuous activity, imagine it as a series of biological phases. Each phase has its own primary fuel source, hormonal environment, and metabolic purpose. The longer you maintain a steady pace, the more your body shifts toward efficient aerobic metabolism and greater fat utilization. From 0 to 5 minutes, your body is focused on one priority: meeting the sudden increase in energy demand as quickly as possible. The muscles cannot wait for slower fuel systems to activate, so they immediately rely on the fastest available sources. Stored ATP provides instant energy, followed by phosphocreatine, while blood glucose and muscle glycogen quickly become the dominant fuels. Your heart rate begins rising, but it has not yet reached a steady level. Your breathing becomes deeper, although oxygen delivery is still catching up with your muscles' increasing needs. At this stage, fat contributes only a relatively small portion of the total energy being used. This is not because your body cannot burn fat, but because it has chosen the fastest and most efficient solution for the situation. Between 5 and 10 minutes, your cardiovascular system begins settling into a more stable rhythm. Your heart pumps a larger volume of blood with each beat, sending more oxygen and nutrients to the working muscles. Blood vessels supplying your legs continue widening, while circulation becomes more efficient throughout the body. Your muscles warm up, making contractions smoother and reducing stiffness. Enzymes responsible for energy production become increasingly active. Although carbohydrates still provide most of the energy, your metabolism is beginning to expand its reliance on fat. The first free fatty acids released from fat tissue are now entering the bloodstream in greater numbers, but they have not yet become the dominant fuel source. During this period, another important process is taking place inside your liver. As your muscles consume more glucose, the liver carefully monitors blood sugar levels. It begins releasing small amounts of stored glycogen to prevent blood glucose from dropping too quickly. This balancing act ensures that your brain continues receiving a stable supply of glucose while your muscles remain adequately fueled. The entire system works with remarkable precision. Rather than allowing blood sugar to crash, the body constantly adjusts fuel delivery according to demand. As you move into the 10 to 15-minute range, several hormonal changes become much more noticeable. Insulin continues to decline, reducing the body's tendency to store energy. At the same time, glucagon and adrenaline become more influential, encouraging fat cells to release additional fatty acids. More oxygen reaches your muscles than at the beginning of the walk, allowing mitochondria to increase aerobic metabolism. These tiny structures become increasingly capable of converting fatty acids into usable energy through a process known as beta oxidation. The contribution of fat to your overall energy production steadily increases, even though carbohydrates continue sharing part of the workload. Many people mistakenly believe there is a magical moment when the body suddenly switches from burning sugar to burning fat. Biology is rarely that dramatic. Instead, both fuels are almost always being used together. What changes is the proportion. During the first few minutes, carbohydrates dominate. As time passes and the body settles into a comfortable aerobic rhythm, fat gradually contributes more and more to the total energy supply. Once you reach 15 to 20 minutes, your metabolism enters a noticeably different phase. Your heart rate has stabilized at a level appropriate for your walking intensity. Your breathing feels smoother and more controlled. Many people even notice that walking suddenly feels easier than it did at the beginning. This sensation is not imaginary. It reflects the fact that your cardiovascular and muscular systems have become synchronized. Oxygen delivery is now efficient enough to support a larger amount of fat oxidation. By this stage, your muscles are drawing increasing amounts of energy from circulating fatty acids. The liver no longer needs to release glucose as aggressively because the overall energy system has become more balanced. Glycogen is still being used, but at a slower relative rate than earlier in the walk. This helps preserve carbohydrate stores for situations where rapid energy may be needed later. As your walk continues into the 20 to 30-minute range, your body reaches what many exercise physiologists describe as a stable aerobic state. Your heart is pumping efficiently. Your lungs are delivering oxygen comfortably. Your muscles have settled into a sustainable rhythm of contraction and relaxation. Blood circulation has fully adapted to the workload. Hormones now support ongoing fat mobilization, rather than simply preparing for it. This is the period during which fat often provides a much larger percentage of the energy required for moderate-intensity walking. Your mitochondria are actively converting fatty acids into ATP, providing a steady supply of fuel that can support prolonged movement, without the rapid depletion associated with carbohydrate-only metabolism. Because fat stores are enormous compared to glycogen stores, your body can maintain this pattern for a long time, as long as the walking intensity remains moderate. Something else important is happening during this phase. As muscle contractions continue, GLUT4 transporters remain active on the surface of muscle cells, allowing glucose to enter efficiently, even with relatively low insulin levels. This improves insulin sensitivity, not only during the walk, but often for hours afterward. For individuals with insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, or type 2 diabetes, this repeated improvement in glucose handling can become one of the most valuable long-term benefits of regular walking. If you continue walking beyond 30 minutes, the advantages extend even further. Fat oxidation remains elevated, blood sugar regulation continues improving, and your cardiovascular system receives an extended period of healthy stimulation. Over weeks and months of consistent walking, your muscles respond by building additional mitochondria, improving capillary density, and increasing their ability to burn fat more efficiently. In other words, your body becomes better at using fat not just during today's walk, but during future walks as well. This is why consistency matters far more than chasing quick results. Every walk teaches your metabolism to become a little more efficient. Every session strengthens the communication between your hormones, muscles, heart, liver, and fat tissue. Over time, these repeated adaptations make your body increasingly capable of using visceral fat as a dependable energy source instead of simply storing it. But while this timeline explains how your metabolism changes over time, an even more fascinating story is unfolding inside each individual organ. Every major organ in your body plays a unique role in transforming an ordinary walk into a powerful metabolic event. By the time you've been walking for 20 or 30 minutes, the changes inside your body are no longer limited to your muscles. Nearly every major organ has adjusted its behavior to support continuous movement. This is why walking is often described as a full-body metabolic therapy rather than simply a form of exercise. While you may only notice your legs moving, your brain, liver, pancreas, heart, blood vessels, fat tissue, and even your cell's microscopic power plants are all working together in remarkable harmony. Let's begin with the brain. Although the brain represents only about 2% of your body weight, it consumes roughly 20% of your resting energy. During a steady walk, the brain remains incredibly active. It constantly coordinates balance, posture, vision, hearing, and movement, while monitoring signals coming from muscles, joints, and the inner ear. As your heart pumps more efficiently, blood flow to the brain improves, delivering a richer supply of oxygen and nutrients. Many studies have shown that moderate aerobic exercise also stimulates the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, often called BDNF. This remarkable protein supports the growth, survival, and communication of neurons. It is one reason people often feel mentally clearer after a walk than before they started. At the same time, stress hormones such as cortisol become better regulated, while mood-enhancing chemicals like endorphins and serotonin gradually increase. This explains why walking often reduces anxiety, improves concentration, and leaves people feeling calmer, even if they never intended to exercise for their mental health. Now consider your liver, one of the busiest metabolic organs in the body. At the beginning of your walk, the liver acts like an emergency energy manager. It carefully releases glucose from its glycogen stores to keep blood sugar stable, while your muscles begin consuming more fuel. Without this constant adjustment, blood glucose could fall too quickly, leaving you weak or lightheaded. As the walk continues, and fat oxidation becomes more active, the liver gradually reduces the amount of glucose it needs to release. Instead of working overtime to maintain blood sugar, it settles into a balanced rhythm. Over weeks of regular walking, the liver becomes more sensitive to insulin, stores glycogen more efficiently after meals, and often accumulates less fat. This is one reason consistent walking has been associated with improvements in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and overall metabolic health. The pancreas also experiences an important shift. This small organ produces insulin, the hormone responsible for helping glucose enter cells. After a meal, insulin levels rise to manage the incoming nutrients. During a sustained walk, however, muscles can absorb glucose much more efficiently, meaning the pancreas does not need to produce as much insulin to achieve the same effect. As insulin levels gradually decline during exercise, fat cells become less restricted and begin releasing more fatty acids into circulation. Over months of regular walking, this reduced demand for insulin may lessen the workload placed on pancreatic beta cells. For individuals with insulin resistance, this repeated improvement can help restore healthier glucose regulation and reduce the risk of progressing toward type 2 diabetes. Your skeletal muscles become the largest consumers of energy in the entire body during a walk. They are not simply burning calories. They are acting as enormous metabolic engines. Every muscle contraction requires ATP, and every step stimulates thousands of muscle fibers to pull nutrients from the bloodstream. GLUT4 transporters continue moving to the surface of muscle cells, allowing glucose to enter with much less dependence on insulin. At the same time, mitochondria inside these muscle cells increase their ability to oxidize fatty acids. With regular training, muscles respond by building additional mitochondria, increasing the size and efficiency of existing ones, and developing a richer network of tiny blood vessels called capillaries. These adaptations mean that, over time, your muscles become significantly better at using fat as fuel, even at the same walking speed that once felt challenging. Meanwhile, your fat tissue is undergoing its own transformation. Many people imagine fat as an inactive storage depot, but adipose tissue is actually a highly active endocrine organ. Fat cells constantly communicate with the rest of the body by releasing hormones and signaling molecules. During the early minutes of walking, insulin keeps many fat stores relatively locked. As insulin declines and adrenaline rises, hormone-sensitive lipase becomes more active inside fat cells. Stored triglycerides are broken apart into glycerol and free fatty acids. These fatty acids leave the fat cells, enter the bloodstream, and travel toward working muscles. Visceral fat, the fat surrounding your internal organs, is particularly metabolically active. It tends to release fatty acids more readily than subcutaneous fat stored beneath the skin. However, this does not mean visceral fat disappears overnight. Instead, repeated walking sessions gradually train your body to access these stores more efficiently, reducing their size over weeks and months rather than minutes or days. Your heart also becomes stronger with every sustained walk. During the first few minutes, it beats faster to meet the growing demand for oxygen. As your body reaches a steady aerobic rhythm, each heartbeat pumps a greater volume of blood. This means the heart can deliver more oxygen without necessarily increasing its rate further. With consistent training, the heart muscle becomes more efficient, stroke volume improves, and resting heart rate often decreases. A lower resting heart rate is one sign that the cardiovascular system has become stronger and more economical, allowing the heart to accomplish the same work with less effort. Your blood vessels play an equally important role. The inner lining of healthy arteries produces nitric oxide, a molecule that signals blood vessels to relax and widen. During walking, increased blood flow stimulates greater nitric oxide production, improving circulation throughout the body. Better circulation means more oxygen reaches muscles, more nutrients reach tissues, and waste products such as carbon dioxide are removed more efficiently. Over time, healthier blood vessels contribute to lower blood pressure, improved endothelial function, and a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. Finally, we arrive at the mitochondria, perhaps the true heroes of this entire process. These microscopic structures exist inside nearly every cell, but they are especially abundant in muscles because muscles require enormous amounts of energy. Mitochondria are responsible for converting oxygen, glucose, and fatty acids into ATP, the energy that powers every movement you make. During the first minutes of walking, they rely heavily on carbohydrates because they are the quickest available fuel. As oxygen delivery improves and more fatty acids arrive from fat tissue, mitochondria gradually increase fat oxidation. With regular walking, they become larger, more numerous, and more efficient. This process, known as mitochondrial biogenesis, is one of the most important long-term adaptations to aerobic exercise. It means your body literally builds a greater capacity to produce clean, sustainable energy, while relying less on rapid glucose consumption. When all of these organs work together, your brain coordinating movement, your liver balancing glucose, your pancreas reducing insulin demand, your muscles consuming fuel, your fat cells releasing stored energy, your heart strengthening circulation, your blood vessels expanding, and your mitochondria producing ATP, you begin to understand why walking is far more powerful than simply counting calories. It transforms the entire internal environment of the body, and as these invisible changes accumulate day after day, they eventually become visible in everyday life, through better energy, improved blood sugar control, a smaller waistline, and healthier aging. The real-world benefits we'll explore next. The remarkable thing about everything we've discussed so far is that most of these biological changes happen long before you notice them in the mirror. Your mitochondria become more efficient before your genes fit more comfortably. Your muscles become more insulin sensitive before the scale moves. Your heart pumps more effectively before you realize you can climb stairs without becoming short of breath. This is why so many people underestimate the power of walking. They stop because they judge progress by appearance instead of physiology. After several weeks of consistent walking, many people begin noticing changes that have very little to do with body weight at first. They wake up with more energy instead of feeling exhausted every morning. Their afternoon energy crashes become less frequent because blood sugar stays more stable throughout the day. Cravings for sugary snacks often become less intense as insulin regulation improves. Many people also report sleeping more deeply at night, waking up fewer times, and feeling more refreshed in the morning. As stress levels decrease and mood improves, they find it easier to stay active, make healthier food choices, and remain consistent with other healthy habits. Over time, these small improvements begin adding up. Waist circumference gradually decreases. Visceral fat around the abdominal organs slowly shrinks. Blood pressure often improves. Fasting glucose and HbA1c may move in a healthier direction. Endurance increases, allowing longer walks with less effort. Activities that once felt tiring, carrying groceries, climbing hills, playing with children or grandchildren, become noticeably easier. These are the real rewards of a healthier metabolism, and they are often much more meaningful than simply watching a number change on the scale. Unfortunately, many people unknowingly make mistakes that prevent them from experiencing these benefits. One of the most common mistakes is stopping every walk after only 10 or 15 minutes. As you've learned, this is often just when your body is beginning to shift toward greater fat utilization. Another mistake is walking at an intensity that is either far too easy or unnecessarily difficult. A comfortable but purposeful pace usually provides the best environment for sustained fat oxidation. Some people also reward themselves with large, high-calorie meals immediately after walking, easily replacing the energy they just used. Others believe that sweating heavily automatically means they are burning more fat, when sweating is primarily the body's cooling system rather than a direct measure of fat loss. Poor sleep, chronic stress, and inconsistent walking schedules can also reduce the metabolic improvements that regular walking is capable of producing. Finally, perhaps the biggest mistake of all is expecting dramatic belly fat loss after only a few days. The body adapts gradually, and lasting metabolic health is built through repeated, consistent effort rather than quick fixes. The encouraging news is that once you understand these common mistakes, they become surprisingly easy to avoid. And with a few simple adjustments, you can help your body make every single walk far more effective than before. So, what should you actually do if your goal is to reduce stubborn belly fat and improve your metabolic health? The answer is simpler than many people expect. Instead of chasing extreme workouts or searching for miracle fat-burning tricks, focus on giving your body enough time to complete the metabolic transition you've learned about today. Aim for walks that last between 20 and 40 minutes whenever possible. Maintain a pace where you can still hold a conversation, but would find it difficult to sing. That intensity provides an excellent balance between comfort and effective fat oxidation for most people. If your schedule allows, try walking after meals to help improve blood sugar control. Or consider walking before breakfast if it is appropriate for your health and approved by your healthcare professional. Stay hydrated, eat enough protein to support healthy muscles, prioritize 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night, and include strength training a few times each week. These habits work together with walking to improve insulin sensitivity, preserve muscle mass, and encourage your body to rely more efficiently on stored fat over time. Most importantly, remember this. The first 15 minutes of your walk are never wasted. They are the preparation phase that allows your heart, muscles, hormones, liver, blood vessels, and mitochondria to work together efficiently. Without those first minutes, the later stages of increased fat oxidation could never happen. So the next time you feel tempted to end your walk after just 15 minutes, remember what is happening inside your body. Your metabolism is only beginning to reach its stride. Stay patient. Stay consistent, and trust the biology. Real fat loss is not created by a single walk. It is created by hundreds of walks that teach your body to become healthier, stronger, and more metabolically efficient. If you found this explanation helpful, let us know in the comments how long you usually walk each day. We'd love to hear about your experience. And if you enjoy science-based videos that explain fasting, walking, blood sugar, visceral fat, metabolism, and healthy aging in a simple and practical way, be sure to subscribe and join us for the next episode.